Welcome to InterPartyConflict, the podcast where we answer your questions so you can have the best tabletop gaming experience possible. My name is Gabe.
My name is Jeff.
And we're going to answer your questions today. But first, I have a question. Jeff.
Yeah?
How are you doing today? How are you doing this evening, I should say?
I'm doing pretty good. This is much later than we usually record, so
Yes.
I might get a little drowsy, but I'm all right. I'm all right.
Okay. Yeah, we so a little bit of behind the scenes stuff. This week, the week we recorded this, there was a really, really bad winter storm kind of all over. So I mean, at first I thought it was just us in Michigan, but I mean, Texas got hit pretty bad for various reasons. But so as a result, my work, they sent us home early one day, and then they decided, hey, we weren't going to have you start working mandatory overtime for another little while, but they decided to go ahead and start that early. So I have basically only one day off this entire week, and I already have a day's worth of plans for that day. So we are recording this kind of in a time slot we didn't usually use, but we may have to start using more in the future. So,
right,
listeners, maybe get used to how sleepy and groggy or whatever we are, because there might be a lot of this in the future.
Right, yeah. It's this is the weekend, and like I usually stay up later than normal, but
sure,
there are even on the weekends some days I just like by a certain time I'm just like I'm ready for bed because I'm getting at that age where like like I don't want to stay up as late as I used to. I just want to go to sleep. I'm tired.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
So
yeah,
but anyway, we'll still be here. We're still gonna record. So
yep, we'll still be putting out episodes. Just it's a question of how miserable we are while we do it, I guess.
Yeah, the show is not making us miserable.
Oh,
our lives are making us miserable.
Right. No, I love that we do this show.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's really cool that we've got this. I mean, so far more than 4 years worth of this body of work that we've put together over the last 4 years and then some. And it's really cool.
Yeah, it's fun.
Whenever the eventual day comes where we're not making the podcast anymore, I will be very sad.
Right. Yeah. Of course.
So on that note, you want to go ahead and jump into this episode?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So Jeff, I want you to imagine that you are going fishing. You talked about being old just now. So you're going to do what old people do, old white guys, I guess, and you're going to go fishing.
Gonna go fishing.
So you're out on the boat. You make your cast. You throw it out there. It lands in the water. And then you start reeling it in. And then like something grabs on. You think this is it, Jeff. This is the big one.
The big one, yes.
So you're reeling, you're pulling, and oh no, Jeff. This thing's too big. It pulls you into the lake.
Oh no.
And as you get pulled down into the water, as the last bits of light from the sun above get lost in the murky water, you see that this you've unknowingly hooked this impossibly gigantic red scaly creature, and you realize it's not even a fish. You thought it was a fish, but it's not. Instead, it is this gigantic red dragon, and as you sink down into the darkness, you begin to see like lights shining back at you from below.
Ooh.
And you're of course going to run out of air, so you're not going to be able to appreciate this, but do you know what is down at the bottom of that water and where you are about to be on top of, Jeff?
Where am I going?
You're about to be on top of the dragon's hoard. That was, for the most part, submitted by the Beverage Tea via Discord. I kind of put some little English on it. Maybe I should have swapped out the color of dragon for a color of dragon that lives underwater. But
what dragons would live underwater?
I think black dragons do. They live in like swamps or something.
Swamps. Yeah, I was thinking either like a black or a green dragon.
Yeah.
Because green dragons are like mostly in the forest, right?
I think so. Yeah.
But yeah, black dragons for sure are like swampies.
So today's magic item was submitted by the DM's Council via Discord. And today's item is the Attune Shears. So attune like Attune, shears like scissors.
Okay.
This is a very rare, wondrous item. This gold sharpened set of scissors gives the wielder the ability to see the strands of magic connecting others with their attuned items.
Ooh.
With a successful melee attack with the shears on a target, the target takes 1d4 slashing damage, and one of the lowest rarity items becomes unattuned to them. If the process is repeated, the next highest item is affected, or another item of the same rarity if all rarity is the same. This is akin to cutting the threads that connect user and item. A DC 15 intelligence saving throw holds fast the item's connectivity. An affected target must reattune with any items that have been cut. So, relatively simple item that does something I have never seen in a D&D item before.
Right, yeah, absolutely. That's pretty interesting.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, can't the Artificer attune to more than 2 items? Is that correct?
I think that, yeah, I think they have some ability to like attune to more things. And like, I feel like, again, I did most of my reading on the Artificer class when it was in Unearthed Arcana.
So it may have changed a bit.
Yeah, not in Unearthed Arcana, but like they had sort of like pre-released the Eberron stuff.
It was like the Wayfinder's Guide to Eberron, I think.
Yes, yeah. So it was like, but it was sort of play testing, content. So it wasn't official. And there was a bunch of stuff in there that I'm sad that they didn't stick with, but whatever.
Sure. I was bringing that up just because it's a powerful item as is, but like if attuning were a big part, then I would expect this to just naturally be a part of the game. However, because you can only attune to 2 things, this you never see this in an official source, so it's especially powerful that the DM's Council came up with this.
Right. Is it only 2?
3, I'm sorry. Sorry. I thought it was only 2. Is it really 3?
Yeah, I don't know. I thought the three sounded right in my head, but
okay. It's been so long since I've actually like paid attention to that, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I don't know. Yeah. I'm not sure. It's just the 2 just sounded low, but yeah, there was I think one of like the later abilities from Artificer is like they get, or I think it was their end cap, like their 20th level thing was like they get a bonus to all of their saves based on the number of attuned items they have.
Oh, okay.
And I want to say they got up, I think that was like an up to like a +5, so I think they can have up to 5 attuned items or something by the end.
According to Google, they at levels 10, 14, and 18, they get an additional slot, so they can have up to 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like they get a +6 to all their saves.
That's insane.
But, just by having magical items, not from the items themselves, but just from having the items.
Right. But no, I think that this item is really cool. I love the I was going to say the visuals. I love the theming of it. I love that it is that with these scissors, you can just like see the strands of magic. I kind of picture you can see the strands of magic kind of everywhere. I might even give in like a free detect magic onto this item.
Oh,
and
sure.
Have it just be that you can just like see these strands of magic wherever. And then I love the idea that you attack a target and you are like cutting one of those strands that connects them to their item. That's so cool.
Yeah.
So
I would maybe want to like tweak the mechanics of this a bit, like the specifics on how you cut threads and things like that. But
okay.
But I absolutely like the idea.
Sure. Like, it's definitely a great starting point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it might be harder to cut depending on the rarity of the item, that sort of thing.
Oh, sure.
But the theming and the uniqueness of the effect is really good.
Yes. Yeah, I wish I had more to say about it, but like I said, it's a pretty simple item. It just does something that is really cool and that I've never seen anywhere else.
Right.
So
yep. That's cool.
So yeah, good job, DM's Council. So that'll do it for the Dragon's Hoard today. Once again, those were the Attune Shears submitted by the DM's Council via Discord. So Jeff, if anybody else wanted to submit magic items for the Dragon's Hoard, or if they wanted to submit questions for us to discuss, or stories for the funeral pyre or retirement village or whatever we're doing with that last segment, how would they get those to us?
They could send us an email at interpartyconflict@gmail.com or join us on our Interparty Discord at bit.ly/interpartydiscord.
That's correct. And hey, one thing that I will mention about our Discord, because came up today while I was at work. One of my coworkers is a patron of ours, not a top tier patron, so he doesn't take part in our Roll20 games. However, he was asking me like what's happened in our Roll20 game so far, and I pointed out to him, if you go to our Discord, which Jeff does point out every episode, we have a patron channel on there. I mean, anybody can go there. It's just a channel where we talk about patron related stuff. I always put up a recap of the game so far before one of our sessions. So, listener, you could go to our Discord and you could kind of just read up on what has been happening in our patron Roll20 game. So just a neat little thing that, I don't think we've ever mentioned before.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So, yeah. Yes. So anyway, that is correct, Jeff. Thank you. But before we go any further, we have a giveaway to give away today. As usual, so far, we're giving away a copy of Unearthed Tips and Tricks Volume 2, courtesy of Crit Academy. Unearthed Tips and Tricks Volume 2 is a great supplement where the Crit Academy podcast has created 25 character concepts, 25 encounter concepts, 25 monster variants, magic items, player tips and DM tips, all sorts of stuff for players and DMs alike. Tons and tons of content in there. It's a great supplement. I helped them write it, so I have the inside scoop on exactly how great it is. So yeah, great supplement. Who is the winner of this great supplement today?
Today's winner is Edward T.
Winner. Gobble, gobble, gobble. Yes. Congratulations, Edward T. You should be getting that in your email pretty soon. Be sure to let Crit Academy know what you think. Leave them a review. They get more attention. They get more feedback the more reviews they get. So please leave them a review. Everybody who has gotten one of these, and a lot of people have gotten one, I want all of you to leave them a review on DM's Guild, on Drive-Thru-RPG, whatever.
Yes.
So yeah. Congratulations, Edward T. Thank you, Crit Academy. Now, normally I would ask Jeff how people can enter this drawing, but we have an announcement.
Uh-oh.
We're going to be giving away something new instead. So we're still going to be doing this for, I think, let's say 2 more weeks. We'll still be giving away 2 more copies of Unearthed Tips and Trick 2.
Yeah.
But after that, we are going to be giving away something else.
Ooh.
Crit Academy recently put out 3 new character options. They made the Warmind domain for clerics.
Uh-huh.
They made the fighter archetype, the Skybreaker, and the race Werecat.
Oh.
So we are going to be giving away a bundle of those 3 supplements in the future. So again, for, let's say in 2 weeks from when this episode goes out, we will start giving out the Warmind, Skybreaker, and Werecat. We will no longer be giving away the Unearthed Tips and Tricks Volume 2. But if you are already on the list for Unearthed Tips and Tricks Volume 2, we will still be giving that away in the meantime. So, Jeff, if anybody wants to enter the drawing to win these 3 great supplements, how would they enter?
They can enter by sending us an email at interpartyconflict@gmail.com with crit3 in the subject line.
Yes, correct. And I probably cut it out, but we deliberated for a little bit about what exactly to have you, because, I mean, we're not going to have you say Warmind, Skybreaker, Werecat.
Yeah.
Maybe put that in the body or something, but crit 3 in the subject line.
But this is the 3rd giveaway brought to you by the Crit Academy. So that I think that works. I think it works out.
That worked. Let's say that's what we planned from the beginning.
Yeah.
Good job. All right. So yeah, huge thank you to Crit Academy. Justin from Crit Academy is so great. Every now and then he's like, "Hey, do you want to give this away instead?" And it's really cool. So yeah, huge thank you to them. Congratulations, Edward T, for winning under Tips and Tricks 2. Good luck to the last couple people who will be winning, and good luck to everybody entering this new drawing. Woo. Next up, I want to thank all of our wonderful patrons. Patreon is an online platform. You can pledge to donate a certain amount of money per month to the creator of your choice. if you head to ours at patreon.com/InterPartyConflict. We've got a few different tiers. We've got on the lowest tier, we've got a bunch of outtakes. We've got a bunch of fantasy fiction that I've written in the past. On the next tier up, we've got a monthly bonus podcast. Jeff and I just put out an episode about virtual reality because both of us have gotten into VR, within the last couple of years or so. I did more recently. And so got bonus episodes on there. On the top tier, we've got a monthly Roll20 game. I mentioned the monthly Roll20 game earlier. And actually, here's the thing. So I talked about my work schedule got real goofy this week. We had to reschedule our Roll20 game. It was supposed to be the day we were recording this was supposed to be our Roll20 game. And I had to cancel it because my stupid work 4 days ago decided, let's have some mandatory overtime. Yeah. So it's frustrating. I apologize to all of our current patrons. You guys are all troopers. So thank you for bearing with me during all this. But anyway, just everybody out there who has donated to us, whether you are still donating to us or not, we really appreciate it. You guys have been helping us keep the lights on, helping us keep motivated to put out the show. I feel like we would still probably put out the show even if we had nobody donating, but I would be a lot less excited about it. I would be a lot less excited about putting out any sort of additional content too. So, just a big thank you. We understand things are tough, especially now. So just everybody who has donated to us, you guys are really awesome. We really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
And then one more thing, check out the other podcasts on the Crit Nation Fellowship. Check out Crit Academy at critacademy.com. Justin, Ian, and Austin create new and reusable content for players and DMs alike. Check out the Kind GM podcast, which is another advice podcast for running a game. And check out Brute Force and Ignorance. They're an actual play podcast that is still on hiatus, I believe. And also go check out D&D Character Lab. Their episodes should still be out there. Those are all a lot of fun. So we've got a great network here with a lot of different podcasts and content creators. So go check all those out. Enough of all this admin. Let's get into some questions, Jeff.
All right, our first question comes from Vlad Black 1 on Reddit, and they ask, would an asexual character be affected by a succubus?
Yeah, so one thing I just want to say before we get into this, I don't know how much we're really going to get into this, but one thing I want to say is if you have to ask this question, maybe don't do it. If you have to ask, if you have to wonder about any sort of sexual identity or politics of such in your game,
right?
Maybe just don't. Maybe
I don't
unless
know.
your players have expressed an interest in exploring something like that. Maybe just don't.
Well, no, I think it's fine. So it just to answer the question right off the bat, it's I don't see why not, because it's magic.
Yeah.
Because it's not just they're not just playing to their attraction. They're using magic to use, they're using enchantment magic and stuff. So it's, I think this question can come from the DM says, okay, the succubus has now charmed you. Sure. And the player might go, well, no, because my character's asexual, so obviously that wouldn't work. So I'm immune to their magic because of it or something. It's it's no. It's just a mechanic. It's magic. It's a charm spell. Unless there is something very specific in the rules of the succubus that is unless it states something specific, I don't see it not working.
Yeah, well, so that's actually. I just brought up the succubus, the 5th edition succubus on D&D Beyond. I had actually been thinking, I think in one of the earlier editions of the game, there was something that it's a succubus can only use their charm or whatever on a person of the opposite gender or something. Mm-hmm. I'm not seeing it in 5th edition, which is for the best. I'm actually not even seeing it in the 3rd edition SRD. Maybe I'm just looking in the wrong spot or something. But whatever the case, I thought that was part of a rule that there has to be some sort of there was some outdated rule about it has to be a type of person that is attracted to the succubus.
Sure.
Or something.
Yeah. But I think is like just this for simplicity's sake, as far as the mechanics of the game, if it's casting a charm spell, it's going to work like any other charm spell being cast by any other creature. That being said, gender is a social construct and D&D is a fictional construct. So, whatever works for you and your group, go with that. Yeah.
Like I said earlier, when in doubt, don't get into anything like that. But I mean, if it is something that might come up in your game and everybody's open-minded and mature and everything, I think that this is something that the group could decide. We talked a couple weeks ago. I say we talked, but I mean, I ranted about players having something in their backstory and then like demanding mechanics in response for it.
Yeah.
I mean, demanding isn't necessarily a good idea, but if the players encountered a succubus and then one of the players gets charmed or whatever, if that player had written in their backstory that, oh, my character is asexual, is not attracted to anyone in any sort of a romantic sense or a sexual sense, then I think that could be something the player could bring up in order to suggest to the DM, maybe this should have some sort of a different effect on me as a result.
Yeah.
It does come down to the DM, of course, and
right.
I can't tell any DM what they should or shouldn't rule on that, but I think that's definitely an opportunity where that's kind of a mechanical benefit, kind of a role-playing benefit. That's kind of anybody's game as far as whether to use something like that to give the player an advantage in that case. I think that would be an interesting thing to do. That would be an interesting benefit to give to a player that I've never seen happen in a game before.
Yeah.
This message brought to you by two cisgendered white men in their 30s.
Yeah. Don't.
I stand by what I said. Maybe just don't bother. Maybe don't explore this at all. It's something people should explore and learn about as far as like the dynamics of gender and in society and everything like that. Like, people could be more open about that sort of stuff. Society and humanity is always changing. You can change with it, or you cannot.
Right. Yeah. As far as the game go, I think you're right comparing this back to like the background thing. It's like this is something you can work with, work with the group, work with the DM, work with your own character and everything like that. Because that could be an interesting dynamic of like, maybe this doesn't work. Maybe the succubus doesn't have as much of an effect on somebody who isn't attracted to the succubus's form.
Yeah. I think it would be kind of neat if there was like a sect of paladins, of like demon hunting paladins that are not necessarily specifically chosen, but like specifically formed of people who are immune to succubi for that reason.
Sure. Yeah.
I think that'd be an interesting bit of world building.
Yeah.
A long time ago, I wrote one of my fantasy fictions was about this troupe of stagehands, basically, for what's essentially like a 20th level bard. So like almost like an epic level bard has an entire like troupe of stagehands to prepare for her performance, and the entire troupe are all deaf because being deaf, they are immune to the bard's, the magic created through the bard's music.
Yeah.
And so that would give them an advantage when dealing with an audience who might be driven to strong emotions as a result of the music. So I like that kind of world building where there are characters who have some sort of a trait that, might be a physical trait, might be a mental trait. But whatever the case, a trait that they were born with or a trait that they have that isn't going away, something they didn't choose to have, but just a trait that they are, giving them a leg up in regards to certain supernatural interactions that most people wouldn't have any defense against.
Well, sure.
I think that's an interesting way to world build as well as, just make an interesting encounter.
Yeah, for sure. Our next question comes from the Beverage Tea on Discord. When reading a module for the first time, do you read it all the way through or skip around?
Yeah, that's a good question, because like I like reading a good module or two.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, what do you do when you read a module, Jeff?
I think I skip around for the most part. Yeah, like I may like read like the synopsis or something like that, and then like I don't know, like there might be some aspect of it that catches my eye, and so I gotta go check that out. Like so with Chapel on the Cliffs, there is like they basically introduce this encounter mechanic, because like it involves like a ton of skeletons or zombies, like it's a ton of undead. It's like it's an unreasonable amount of undead for any party to have to deal with in like a normal encounter.
Sure.
So, it was like, okay, so here's these mechanics for like running away from a horde of undead. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I want to check that out. So like before I even got into like the actual story of the module, sure. I was like, I want to see this cool, how did they deal with this? So yeah, there might be something, there's going to be a lot of cool stuff in the module, so I go into like the meat and potatoes of it before I actually take it in all at once.
Yeah, I'm kind of similar. I always intend to just read it from beginning to end. Like I always start at the beginning, and then I'll read the background, and then I'll read like the introduction, the hooks, and I'll read like the first part of the dungeon. But I swear, I don't know if I have ever read an adventure module that was not incredibly boring to try and read just straight from beginning to end.
Sure. Yeah, like, they're not meant to read like a novel.
Yeah. There's always the parts in the middle of the dungeon where it's like, okay, here's a room with not anything in it. Here's another room with not much in it. And then you'll get to like a part that's like, oh, and then this character might be here. And you're like, who the heck is that? I haven't seen that character yet. Is that a thing? And so it's really hard to do. It's really hard to just read it all the way through. I always get maybe like a third of the way through, and then I'm like, okay, I got to see who this character is. Then I'll like flip to where that character is. And then, oh, okay, I see what they did here. And then I'll go back, and then I'll go flip to this other thing. And then sometimes I usually find myself thinking to myself, okay, like, well, what are the players going to do when they get here? Where are they going to go? And then, okay, they'll probably go to this room. Then I'll flip to that room. Then, okay, well, this. Maybe they'll go here. And so I usually start trying to read all the way through. That doesn't work. Then I try to read like as if I'm in the mind of the players that are going to go through this. And then that doesn't work because, I mean, the players never do what you expect. So I don't know. I think I just kind of eventually just flip to random pages, and I'm like, ooh, what's that? Oh, okay. Flip to another random page. Ooh, what's that? And it's kind of goofy. I would be lying if I said that there was never a time where I was running an adventure module and I had literally read everything. And like, I don't know if I've ever read the entire book before starting the module. There's usually things that I'm still finding out halfway through the session.
Right. Yeah, because like you're saying, like you read a little bit and then it mentions a character. So then you go in the back and you check the appendix or whatever with the character stats, and then you see that character has this item, and so now you got to look up the thing about that item, and then it mentions where that item came from, and so then you go to that section of the like it's just like stuff catches your eye. They're not written to be read from cover to cover. They're they're written to be ran as an adventure. So yeah, it is a lot of, it's more of like a spreadsheet than it is a text. It's more of a spreadsheet than it is a text document,
Yeah, pretty much.
All right. Our next question comes from Ravel G on email, and they ask, how do you drop hints as to the lore or plot of a campaign in the form of long-established myths and legends in the world without making it immediately obvious that those legends are true, and without overworking yourself to make tons of legends, some of which are true and some of which are not?
Yeah, I tried rewording this question to make it shorter, but like there's a lot to the question, so it's not easy.
Yeah, no, I understand the question though, but yeah, you're right. It's sort of like, yeah, how do you, yeah, like I don't know how you would word that differently, but I understand the question. Like, yeah, so like, yeah, how do you implement myths and legends without making them obvious to that they're true or not?
Because like, let me give you an example. If you watch a movie that has to do with like, I don't know, demons or like witches or something.
Yeah.
There's going to be a point where one of the characters is like, oh man, how do I deal with this demon? And then they just go to like demon.com. And then the website's like, oh, to defeat a demon, you stab the demon with a silver stake that's been blessed by a priest or something. And then they do it. And then it's true. And then that's the end of the movie. But like the thing is, there in the real world, whether demons are real or not, there are 1,000 different stories about how you deal with demons. So if someone encountered a demon in real life, they wouldn't just take the first piece of advice that they had, because who knows if that piece of advice is correct. It's directly conflicted by 980 other stories, other legends. So if you put a myth into your game, the players are likely to assume, oh, okay, that's real. They wouldn't put this into the game if it wasn't real. The way to get around that is to put a whole bunch of legends, some of which are true and some of which are false. But that's a lot of work, as Ravel was asking. So like, what do you do? Is there a way to give out, lore and plot in the form of myths and legends without the players just assuming that they're all real?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think there is. I think that you kind of have to just accept that the players are going to assume these are all real. Unless you want to put in the work of making a whole bunch of them. But here's the thing. You should make a whole bunch of them. Yeah, it's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun too. It's a lot of world building. If you're willing to put in the work, I doubt you'll regret it. Don't just put in a bunch of myths and legends just to counteract the player expectation. Like, do it because you want the world to be fleshed out and feel real. So a long time ago, we had an episode about creating a Pantheon. I created a Pantheon a few years ago for a campaign that I was going to be running at the time. And when I was coming up with this Pantheon, it's like, no, I think I made like 10 or 11 deities. I thought it would be cool. I thought up something like basically like the Tarrasque. I thought of the Tarrasque, and I was like, what if each different religion, like each different deity, the followers of each different deity had a different story about what the Tarrasque was and how it came to be.
Mm-hmm.
And then I used that as like a little bit of world building. I don't think it ever came up. The campaign lasted, I don't know, a handful of sessions and ended like they are wont to do. But I really enjoyed the process of being like, okay, so here's this big monster. How would this religion imagine it came to be? How would this religion imagine that it came to be? And here's the thing. I don't know which one is true. Like, I mean, I would have chosen one had we gotten to that point, or maybe I would have chosen a different one that was, took a little bit from each of them or whatever. But like, I really enjoyed the process of being like, okay, here's one story for how this horrifying monster came to be, but here's another way it could have happened. Like the end of Clue, here's how it could have happened.
Right. Yeah.
And like, that was a lot of fun. I would say that was even more fun than coming up with the story in the first place, was coming up with 10 different versions of the story that are all different people's takes on it.
Yeah. 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 That's interesting.
So like, I don't know if there is a better answer than just making a ton of legends, but the thing is, like, that can be the fun that can be the fun part of the game in and of itself.
Mm-hmm.
If it isn't, just put out the one myth or whatever, and it's fine. The players will assume it's real. Fine. Who cares? Right. Like, I would rather the players go off in search of this thing that they think is real than for them to not,
Yeah, because like a lot of stuff, a lot of stories and things, like you can base a lot of this off of like movies and books and pop culture and stuff like that. So like
Sure.
players are gonna go into it with those references in their head, and so like they're gonna know that like, oh, okay, the wise old man is gonna have the right myth. He's gonna know the right legend or whatever. So like, yeah, if you don't want it to be too complicated or anything, you could just be like, yeah, this is the legend, and just have them go on that. But yeah, no, I think it's fun to like. That's a really fun idea to come up with, like, several different stories about this, basically the same thing.
Sure.
Just from different perspectives and different belief systems. Was the thing with the Tarrasque, was that in the same place where they had like the deity that was worshipped by two different like religions?
Yes, that was the same campaign as what those were for. There were two deities that were like diametrically opposed to one another, but in actuality they were the same deity that had been like sort of, the different followers had gone off in different directions over the years.
Yeah. So
I like that kind of stuff, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. It's like one of those things where, like, when you learn the truth about it, you're like, oh, that's all right. And then like, but what do you do with that information? It's like, you can't just go up to one sect of the religion and be like, actually, you're worshiping that guy too.
Sure.
Because then they'll go like, no thanks. We're, and they might like lock you up for being crazy or something.
So yeah, well, Ravel G, good luck with whatever you choose to do. Whatever you choose will simultaneously be the right choice and the wrong choice.
Right? Yeah, it's tough. Okay, our next question comes from Flash85 on Discord, and they ask, what are some ideas for how to portray nature as evil, or at least an antagonistic force, without being corrupted? So just like nature as it is, but it is basically the bad guy.
Right, because I think it's really easy to portray nature as evil if it's, or as the opposing force, if it's like, oh, the nature spirits were corrupted, and so now they're just lashing out at everybody. But they wouldn't be doing that if they weren't, if some evil druid hadn't shown up and perverted, polluted, whatever.
Right. Yeah. Like, yeah, some evil wizards stole the forbidden fruit of the tree of life, and now the forest is all mad.
Sure. Have you seen the movie Moana?
Yes. Love that movie.
So it's a good movie. Spoilers for Moana, everybody.
Yeah. Yes. Big spoilers, everybody. Yeah. Turn it off your podcast. It's a good movie. Go see it.
It is a good. I mean, I think it works even with the spoiler. I don't think this twist I'm about to say is hardly what made me want to watch the movie. But
right, yeah. But it was sort of a nice twist, though.
Sure. So spoilers.
So
maybe
you've been warned.
Yes, you've been warned. Maybe fast forward like a minute. So in Moana, there's this big nasty like volcano monster that the main character has to fight with, and it's eventually revealed that like that was the peaceful nature spirit, but when this hero Maui stole this artifact, stole I can't remember what it was actually called. This hero stole
heart of the ocean. I don't know.
Stole like the heart of the ocean or whatever. I think that was from Titanic.
Yeah.
This hero Maui like stole this artifact from the nature goddess, and the nature goddess became this destructive volcano goddess. And like, so that's a very common thing, is that like, oh yeah, this nature thing got corrupted, and that's what made it turn evil. I guess end of spoilers. That's a good movie though. You should go watch it.
Yeah.
But here's the thing about nature. Nature does not care about you. Like,
yeah. Nature gonna do.
Help nature, destroy nature, whatever you got to do. Nature will be here after you're dead, and it will devour your corpse and use it and turn it into something else.
Yeah, it's gonna take your dead body and turn it into more nature.
Pretty much, yeah. It's always interesting to see like long abandoned buildings that have been like quote unquote reclaimed by nature. And it's like, oh, this building is rubble and there's like plants growing through this bed and through this desk and so on and so on. Like, that's what nature does. Nature is kind of like an eldritch monstrosity, if you think about it. It is this thing way bigger than you can fathom, that has been around forever, will be around forever, and wherever you fall dead to the ground, it will devour your corpse and it will turn you into something else.
Yeah, nature's pretty sweet.
Nature is terrifying, is what I was trying to say.
Nature's metal.
Yes, it very much is. So like, instead of just saying like, okay, nature was good and peaceful and then it got corrupted. No, nature has never been peaceful. It's just patient.
Yeah. That's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, yeah, it's nature's scary.
Yes.
We're actually right now in the real world, we are enduring an effect of, well, you know, it has to do with our interaction with nature as humans, but it's still a part of nature, like the pandemic and everything. That's a part of nature.
Oh, I thought you were talking about like the climate right now.
Oh, well, I mean, like,
I'm both.
Right. Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, like, again, we could, talk about the effects of, human civilization on nature. But I'm just saying, like, viruses are a part of nature. That shit's scary.
Yeah. Yeah. Can't argue with that.
Yeah. So, like, but, it's not evil. It's just nature.
Yes. It is. It is patient. It is uncaring. And it is all consuming.
Yep.
I kind of want to make a warlock whose patron is nature, and just have it be that uncaring, patient, destructive force.
Yeah.
And crazy.
Well, yeah, because I was thinking like, is there a patron like that? It's like, I guess Fae, but that's different.
Yeah, that's a little different.
Yeah, because like Fae are like nature creatures, but they're kind of like, they have their own, like, I think they have their own agenda.
Yeah.
I feel like they have their own agenda that like they dig nature, they go with it. They're all for it, but I feel like they have their own like personal agendas.
Yeah, I do always think of Fae as being like some sort of like a strongly sentient being with an agenda. Yeah.
Yeah. They're not a form of nature. They're not like,
sure.
They're not like an embodiment of nature, but they're much more closely tied to nature, I guess.
Sure.
But no, I like that idea of like, warlock, that their patron is just nature. That's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, there's potential in all sorts of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I think that'll do it for our regular questions for today, but we do still have our social media questions. Our last social media question was, design a magic ritual. What does it require, and what does it do? So it's kind of a free form question. Did you, by chance, come up with a ritual, Jeff?
Yeah. So, I was gonna have this, like, it's a really, really powerful ritual. There's gonna be these big like magic orbs, right? They're gonna be orbs. There's gonna be let's say like, I don't know, 6 or 7 of them. Seven's a good number. We're gonna have 7 magic orbs, and they're gonna be scattered all over the world. They're gonna be in like caves under the water and on top of mountains and stuff like that, or maybe just like hidden in a village or something. They might like, they're probably going to be kind of like glowy and one like orange color. That you might indicate the number of the orbs by the like a little symbol on the orb themselves, maybe like a star symbol or something.
Maybe a letter.
Maybe a letter.
Yeah, I think a letter. I think a letter works, Jeff.
Like you can have stars that'll say like, okay, this is.
I don't think a star works. I think a letter. A letter is the way to go. Sorry, go on.
But you get all the orbs together, and then you say like a magical phrase, and then like a giant dragon pops out, and then the dragon.
What does the dragon do, Jeff?
It grants you a wish. It casts the wish spell for you. It's a. I feel like if you're gonna have the wish spell in your campaign, you might as well have it be like a big ritual. Something like these draconic orbs. You know.
That's the orbs of dragonkind. That's actually already a thing. Sorry, Jeff.
Is it? Dang it.
Took me a little while to catch on to what you were doing, but
okay.
good job. Yeah, so I came up with one. Lately I've been watching the TV show Supernatural.
Oh, sure.
And I think it's a good show. It probably goes on for 7 or 8 seasons too long.
That's a lot of seasons.
I'm near the end of the 10th season, and there are still 5 whole seasons left.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway, in any show that goes on that long, there's bound to be some seasons that are better and some are worse. There was one season that I wasn't super crazy about, but I thought I had an idea of what the meta plot was, and then I turned out to be wrong. And I think what I came up with for the meta plot was better than what they actually did. But that gave me the idea for a kind of ritual. So there's a season of this show. I mean, very small spoilers for the show. Don't worry about it. It's fine. You're not missing out on anything from what I'm going to say. There's a season of this show where the main characters, along with a group of like other individuals, are seeking out like monsters, basically. So this is a world where like there are ghosts and demons and werewolves and stuff, and there are some, it's the real world. Like some people know that there are ghosts and demons and such. Most people don't. But there's, in this one particular season, the main characters and these other monster hunters and such are trying to find the alpha versions of each of these monsters. So like the alpha vampire is like the first vampire, the vampire that created all the other vampires. And like the alpha werewolf was the werewolf that, created all the other werewolves, and so on and so on. And I thought because they weren't killing these monsters, they were catching them and like imprisoning them. And I thought, what if they're going to try to do something to like combine them all into one super monster? I really thought that's where there are even other things in that season that was like, yeah, that's exactly what they're doing. Then it turns out, no, that's not at all. They were doing some other completely different thing. But my idea was that the ritual itself would maybe include, you would have to have some sort of like blood or a scale or something from like one of every monster type. So like, a scale from a dragon, blood from a humanoid, I don't know, fur from whatever werewolf, shape changer or something like that. And then like, so like a piece of each different monster type. And then if you combine them all in this ritual, you can basically like combine multiple monsters into one. So let's say you had like an illithid chained up, and then you also had a werewolf chained up, and then you got little bits of all these different monsters. You could perform a ritual to make a werewolf illithid or something.
Yeah.
I just think it would be cool if there were rituals that created monsters. Or,
absolutely.
I guess maybe summon monsters, but just like creating monsters, I think is an interesting idea. And I've played a few adventures where I've seen adventure modules where they sort of hint at certain creatures having been created by someone. Like in the Age of Worms, there was a lich you guys encountered that is sort of is hinted at having created beholders, I think.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I'm like, that's a cool concept. I want that to be a thing that like a player could do if they got the right reagents and such.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
Anyway, so that's kind of what I had. We only got a few responses, as is understandable. I wasn't really expecting to get a ton. On Facebook, the DM's Council says, Deity Saboteur. What you need is 3 ivory white candles blessed by a deva, 3 ebony candles dipped in the river Styx, a circle of chalk made from the ash of a phoenix, and an inverted zone of truth spell. This allows the caster of the ritual to implant a lie or statement into the mind of a deity, good or evil. This can't be undone except by a wish spell or another similar ritual with a regular zone of truth spell. So that's a pretty hefty one. Implanting an idea into the mind of a deity.
Sure. Yeah.
Pretty big deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. That's kind of exactly what the sort of thing I was looking for.
You're doing an inception to a deity.
Pretty much, yeah. Morid inception.
Morid inception.
Yep. Anyway. So that was actually the only one we got on Facebook. Thank you, DM's Council. We didn't get any on Twitter. On Reddit, we got a couple. Alstar the Minotaur says, get a bunch of puppies.
Oh, no.
Like a lot of puppies.
Oh, no.
If you think you have a lot of puppies, double it. Place them in a decent-sized enclosed space. Put a ton of toys and balls in that space for them to play with. Use your wizard magic to broadcast this event to the world.
Oh, okay.
The ritual will bring a collective "aww" to the world, and the population will laud you as the Emperor of Adorable. I feel like this may have been done before, but I still like it, says Alstar. Yeah, I know. I also thought that was going one direction at the beginning, but
right. I was a little worried about where is this going? Don't do anything bad to the puppies.
Yeah, there was a 3rd edition mechanical trick you could do in D&D that involved a bag of puppies.
Yeah.
Anyway, Brandendorf says, consume in a single sitting a serving of carrots blended with the ashes of 1,000 receipts for prescription glasses to have your vision improve very, very slightly anytime someone takes your glasses from you, tries them on, and goes, how the heck can you see with these? Or, wow, you really are blind. Or any other comment on how you are, in fact, visually impaired and require corrective lenses. I'm going to guess that is inspired by real events. Brandendorf.
Maybe.
So that was everybody on Reddit. Over on Discord, we got a couple. Stiltskin-Kupo84 says, Google search. Materials, a 3-foot copper wire and cell phone, 5 copper worth of energy. Duration 5 minutes, target self. Every 5 minutes you spend searching, you gain direct contact with the deity Google and can ask it one question. Google will answer all questions truthfully to the best of its ability. However, when more than one answer to a question exists, the DM may provide you with the top 5 searches, and you must decide which of the answers is the truth you will believe.
Oh, no.
The copper wire and cell phone do not get expended, but the 5 copper energy does. So, yeah. Pretty good one. The Beverage Tea says, appointed elders of a monastery or temple don sacred garments, apply sacred oils to their hair, and paint their faces in various emotive designs to represent the joys, terrors, and every feeling in between of adventuring. Specially blended spices and gums are prepared to be burned as incense, and drummers, flautists, and vocalists are arranged around the outer perimeter of a tiled sacred shape on the monastery or temple floor. Each elder takes a place on points along the sacred geometry and begin chanting rhythmically into copper bowls. The anointed is brought into the center. One by one, the elders approach the anointed and dump the contents of their bowl, earth, water, ashes, leaves, oil, and rabbits, and ask their patron deity to take the anointed where they are needed most. Upon completion, the anointed is transported to wherever they need to be. This is how I was able to bring my second character, a war domain cleric, into Barovia after my first character retired. There was added subterfuge as a jealous acolyte encouraged the wrong pronunciation of a word, which resulted in the cleric being sent to Barovia instead of Chult. Because my understanding is that Barovia, which is where Curse of Strahd, I believe, takes place, I don't think you can easily get to or from Barovia. So
sure.
So I think that's what the Beverage Tea was referring to. So yeah, there you go. Seawood Scribe says, look to the Once Upon a Time TV show for campaign altering rituals. Season 1 spoilers. This is the episode of spoilers, everybody.
Yeah.
I will actually say season 1 of Once Upon a Time is fantastic. Go watch it. Just put this on pause. Go watch the whole season and then come back. We'll still be here.
Oh, I can't in good conscience recommend anybody watch that show. Not that it's not
just the first season.
Not that it's, well, that's the thing is it is so formulated to keep you watching it. Like every single episode ends at a cliffhanger. Every single one.
Yeah. And the first season ends in a cliffhanger. Unfortunately, everything after the first season is bad. Go watch the first season though. But Seawood Scribe said, Eternal Misery Curse. causes a whole kingdom to be plane shifted to a demi-plane where everyone except the caster is unhappy and has varying degrees of amnesia. To cast, the caster must kill or destroy the person or object they hold dearest and bottle up their tears. Then they must mix those tears with the blood spilled from a person with a pure heart. Finally, add pixie dust taken forcefully. Mix into a concoction and dump into a well in the center of the target area. As a result, all creatures within X mile radius are affected. To undo the effects, I don't know, let the players come up with cool ideas and use whatever works best. I forget exactly how they undo it in the show.
I don't know. I think maybe it involves fairy dust. Who knows?
No, it's been a long time since I've seen the first season. I thought that what they described was actually what they did to undo the curse. I thought that's... Anyway, I don't know. I guess everybody, go watch Once Upon a Time. The first... And actually, see what Scribe says. They recommend seasons 1 through 3.
Oh, sure.
I don't know if I can recommend that many. Definitely 1, maybe 2. Eventually, though, it just gets bad. Anyway, so those were all the responses. Like I said, we didn't get a ton, but that's fine. So that was our last social media question. Thank you, everybody who wrote in. Our next social media question, very much inspired by recent events. How often does inclement weather come up in your games? I feel like we've had a question similar to this, but I couldn't find one when searching, so we'll do it again, if so.
Yeah. I was playing a game where I think it was Bridget that was DMing, where she had put in a bunch of like we were going through like really cold weather.
Yeah.
And she had put in some like exhaustion mechanics and stuff in there that were pretty interesting. Like we had to like make sure that we found shelter, and it's like for every day or whatever we spent outside of shelter, we got, we had to roll checks to see if we had a level of exhaustion or that sort of a thing. And then
sure,
they're like, if we found shelter, were we able to like start a fire? And, like if we weren't able to start a fire, but we had shelter, we didn't get more exhaustion, but we didn't reduce our exhaustion or something.
Yeah. I think when inclement weather is used well, I think it's really cool, but like I've only encountered it a handful of times in my entire career of playing the game. So, I don't know if I'm curious if, how many of you have encountered it and how often it comes up.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll do it for all of our questions for today. But before we close out, let's relax. Let's take a deep breath. Let's not fall asleep. I know it is very late. It is after midnight currently. Thank you, Jeff, for doing this so late. Let's remember those who have come before us, who have given their lives so that we may have a better world to live in, as we toss another log onto the funeral pyre. Today's story was submitted by Mylers via Discord. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Mylers. I'm pronouncing it like the Michigan-based supermarket, Myers.
Oh, sure.
Just with an L instead of a silent J.
Right.
Mylers via Discord. Early on in my campaign, I knew that at least one of my players, Alok Fixidor I, would be unhappy with his build. So I created a Deus Ex Machina early on in the form of a gnomish tinkerer who had leveraged the technology of an age long since gone to develop a machine of long rest. By entering the machine, you felt the benefits of a long rest immediately. However, I made sure that all of my serious PCs had made use of this machine before I had the player who was unhappy with their character and had already re-rolled their ranger into a warlock enter the machine. In the middle of the Tinkerer boasting over the glory of the machine, it exploded in fire, and the characters had to roll a dexterity saving throw, with the lowest score being struck in the chest by the head of their fallen comrade.
Oh no.
Through a small amount of necromancy on the Tinkerer's behalf, and largely from the character gaining benefit from his new otherworldly patron, Alok Fixidor II was reborn again as a warlock. For full disclosure, the player was hoping to play a character inspired by Kenny from South Park and wanted to die once per session and be resurrected without consequence. So in the second session, Alok Fixador II died again through his own stupidity and was resurrected by his patron as a kobold, the only usable corpse in sight, as a warning not to jest with his patron's patience. The player quickly abandoned his South Park ideas.
You know, I see that someone else had a ranger that they wanted to reroll into a warlock.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
Well, Milers, your player was not the only one to be in a situation like that. So let's raise a glass in memory of this character as we say, "Oh my God, they killed Alok Fixador!
You bastards!"
Clink. All right, that'll do it for today. To submit questions for us to discuss, items for the Dragon's Horde, or stories for the Funeral Pyre, please email us at interpartyconflict@gmail.com. For show notes, links to media mentioned on the show, and running lists of questions and magic items, go to interpartyconflict.com. Join the discussion on social media. Find us on Facebook, facebook.com/interpartyconflict, on Reddit at r/interpartyconflict, on our Interparty Discord, or on Twitter at InPartyConflict for our weekly social media questions. Your answers might end up on the show. Find us on iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, YouTube, Spotify, anywhere you download podcasts. Please rate, review, subscribe, or just tell a friend. If you'd like to support the show, check out the rewards at patreon.com/interpartyconflict. We have a few different tiers, so anything you can spare, even $1 a month, would go towards making the show better, and you'll get bonus content for it. Jeff, tell us about FriendQuest.
FriendQuest is a YouTube channel where you can watch us play video games, or you can watch me play video games live on twitch.tv/tiltedturtle.
There you go. Also head over to bit.ly/interpartyconflict to take a short survey about our show, what you like, what you don't like, etc. And just for taking it, you'll get 2 free printable board games courtesy of Mary and Tom over at hollandspiel.com. And our music is made by Boxcat Games from Nameless the Hackers RPG. So Jeff, until next time,
do people listen to this podcast beginning to end, or do they skip around?